There's an old peanut strip where Linus complains about a girl he got ice cream with being surprised he didn't order vanilla, believing she thinks he's boring. Charlie Brown looks concerned and responds, "I've always liked vanilla." That dig on vanilla is what I think of when I think of the normal type. Like vanilla, it's pretty bland, with no strengths and only one weakness. But also like vanilla, if it's done right, it can be amazing. Pokémon Ruby is a great game to do a normal type Nuzlocke in because of how diverse the normal types are here. There are 14 different available normal types in Pokémon Ruby, and with the only Pokémon we can't catch being Azurill, easily the worst of the bunch, we should be in good company. We won't be able to evolve Swablu, however, and this may cause us some problems with future encounters, but overall, there's some Pokémon I'm really excited to use. Before starting, let's go over some rules. They're gonna be in the description, but some key ones for reference are that I can only catch the first viable encounter of each location, I can't catch duplicates of a line, no items in battle outside of held items, battle mode on set, if a Pokemon faints it can no longer be used in battle, and there are level caps equal to a gym leader or league member's ace. With that out of the way, let's begin! On the road again. Oh hey mom, thanks for letting me out of the cargo space. I'm glad you deemed me valuable enough to take out of the moving truck, and I'm not mad about it at all. I journey up to the route that exists solely for this rival battle, but thanks to a crit, May causes me to lose attempt 1 before it even began. In attempt 2, I get my Trico an extra level to get him to 7 before taking May on, and this makes the fight 4 hits. You'll notice I gave May a Torchic, partially because this will be the clear hardest starter for my team to deal with, but it's also cool she's getting her starter from the show too. Definitely didn't beat May on my first try, but thanks! On Route 101, we can now get our first encounter. A Zigzagoon I named Charlie Brown. He's got a relaxed nature, plus defense and minus speed, which is a little mixed. Grinding with a reduced speed nature was a little tough, but after a bunch of trips to the Pokemon Center, we've got a beefy little Zigzagoon. Side note, it is such a joy to have a Pokemon with pickup. Every battle is a little adventure. I finally meet my dad, and wow, what a sight. He's just so normal. I want to be just like him. On Route 104, I catch a Tailo, who I name Linus. Linus has a sassy nature, boosting special defense and dropping speed, which is fairly bad. Next, after a half hour of searching and a near-death trainer experience, I found and caught a Slackoth, who I named Sally. Sally has an adamant nature, plus attack and minus special, which is just about the best I could get, so I'm really happy. I find a guy looking for shrooms and have to protect him from a surprise attack. I can't believe he was just carrying around important papers like that on his search, though. Really not the best security protocol. I get to Rustboro City, and between the deeply unsettling way the Cutmaster pitches his HM to me, and the teacher who uses his claw on students, this whole city is really troubling. I can't wait to get out of here. But before taking on the first gym, I spray Repel and speed over to Rust Turf Tunnel, where I catch a Whismur I name Marcy. Marcy has an awesome adamant nature and soundproof, which may come in handy later. I then go back to Route 116 and wander in the grass for an entire episode of Survivor before finally finding a Skitty at the very end. I'm able to catch her and name her Peggy Jean. Peggy Jean's got a mild nature, plus special attack and minus defense, which is okay. Now after some grinding, it's time to face Roxanne. Roxanne might be the hardest fight of the run, if you'll pardon the pun. Hey, that rhymed! Both her Pokemon resist normal moves and have high physical defense, meaning none of my team can hit her for much damage. Even worse, both can wreck Linus thanks to his flying type. The only Pokemon on my team who can hit Roxanne's Pokemon neutrally is Marcy, who has a 15 PP, 30 base power Astonish. Good grief, this could be hard. Now, I think I planned this battle out okay, but it could have been a bit smoother. To start, I'd kept a tract on Peggy Jean thinking she could use it here, but I didn't realize Roxanne's Pokemon were female, so it wouldn't work. But the rest of my strategy roughly plays out. I hit Sing and spam Growl until Geodude is at -6, stopping only to bring back Sleep. Geodude hits a couple Rock Tombs in the process, bringing Peggy Jean to just above half, and also sets up 4 defense curls. Sing really needs to be more accurate, and speaking of accuracy, once I get Geodude down to -6, I decide to tackle until she wakes up, but tackle misses. Okay, Sing misses and Geodude hits 2 Rock Throws, bringing Peggy Jean under half, activating her Oran Berry. Sing finally lands, so I switch to Marcy, who I try to howl to get to +6 attack, but I should have just switched to Charlie Brown and used Sand Attack first. Geodude almost instantly wakes up, maxes out her defense and starts chipping away, getting Marcy to 60% before she can even start attacking. And with all that, Astonish barely does anything! Marcy's Oran Berry activates, but my damage output is pitiful. I do get Geodude to the yellow, but Roxanne uses a potion. Finally, Marcy's health is way too low and I've got to switch her. I go into Sally, who takes a weak rock throw, and hit Yawn. I then switch into Charlie Brown and spam sand attacks. I'm able to get 4 off before she wakes up. I start trying to go for tail whips, which turns out to be an exercise in futility. And so I start trying to go for headbutts as Geodude ultimately activates Charlie Brown's Oran Berry. But then shortly after, Roxanne uses another potion. This is so tedious. I keep trying to stall with tail whips, but it's just not working. I guess it's time. I switch to Linus and hit Focus Energy as Geodude misses Tackle. This will hopefully let me get more crits so that I can maybe do some actual damage. But she hits a bunch more as Linus gets a crit and then a bunch of normal not effective attacks. Geodude ultimately activates Linus's Oran Berry before he crits to take Geodude out immediately after. Her first Pokemon is down and it's been nearly 20 minutes of real time. God. Now it's just Nose Pass. I switch to Sally, who gets hit twice with Rock Throw to a third before landing Yawn. I stall for a turn as Nosepass sets up Harden, and then switch to Peggy Jean. She starts growling as Nosepass wakes up and starts going for more Hardens. After a miss, Sing connects. Nosepass wakes up at -5 attack to send Peggy Jean to the yellow with Rock Tomb. Now Nosepass outspeeds, but I get a final growl off and put Nosepass to sleep. Next up, I send Charlie Brown out, who spams Sand Attack twice before Nosepass wakes up. I wind up getting her all the way to -6 accuracy without getting hit again, and then try Tail Whipping again. It doesn't go anywhere, but it does get Nosepass to waste some precious Rock Throw PP. Then I switch to Peggy Jean again and Sing, which misses 4 times in a row before finally connecting. She doesn't get hit at all in the process, thankfully, but that's absurd. I then hit a few tackles before using my last Sing to put her to sleep. I switch to Linus, but Nosepass wakes up and thankfully just misses a Rock Tomb. That was scary. I switch to Sally and use Slack Off before waiting until I can get Yawn off, installing one more turn before switching back to Linus. Linus uses Focus Energy, and now it's go time. I just start using Wing Attack and fishing for crits, but none come before Nosepass wakes up. She doesn't hit any attacks, but I'm not doing much, until I hit 4 crits in a row to take her out for the win. That battle literally took over a half hour. Unless we got terrible luck with crits, we were probably gonna win, but it just goes to show that Rock-type Pokemon are a huge barrier for us at this point in the run. As we leave the gym, our old friend's vaguely unspecified goods are stolen. On my journey to recovering them, I learned that this grunt decided to take a hostage instead of just going south. Now that we've recovered the goods, we get a once-in-a-lifetime chance to do basically unpaid labor for a big company. Actually, now that I think about it, isn't the entire Pokédex mission just unpaid labor? While grinding for the Dewford gym, Sally evolves into a Vigoroth. Even just getting rid of Truant is a massive upgrade, so I'm really happy. We reach the Dewford gym, and we're told not to bring normal types in here. Well, we're out of luck. Thankfully, under the cover of darkness, which is also weak to fighting but seems fine enough for the gym I guess, we sneak in and face Brawly. I make it to him and lead with Linus, who I pre-poisoned fighting Wild Tentacool to activate Guts. He hits a Wing Attack on Machop, which doesn't kill. Machop just goes for bulk up though, and then Brawly heals. Next turn, Wing Attack doesn't take Machop to healing range, so we can just take him out one turn later. Makuhita is next, and we've still got 2/3 HP, but Arm Thrust can hit hard. Let's hope this is it. And it is! We KO with Wing Attack to get our second gym badge. Don't you just hate lines? We try to give Stern the goods, but he's playing hooky from work to go to the museum. We have to pay in order to get in, and I've got a feeling that that's not coming out of the Devon Corp's funds. But Team Magma attacks as soon as I enter, and I've got to save Stern, not that they're a challenge to beat. We then take on the Trick House to become an international Pokemon trainer of mystery, and in the process, Charlie Brown evolves into a Linoon. And right after that, Marcy evolves into Loudred. Now we've got to take on one of the hardest rival fights in all of Pokemon. I lead with Sally, who encores May's Wilmer so she's stuck on Splash. 2 scratches finish her off. But now she sends out Combuskin, the real threat. I hit him with Yawn as he goes for Focus Energy, but thankfully I outspeed, and now I lock him in with an Encore as he falls asleep. I pivot to Linus and Wing Attack does half as Encore ends, but no worries as we outspeed for the KO. Shroomish is last, and Wing Attack sends him to the yellow, but he stun spores. At least that activates Guts, not that it matters too much, and after a tackle, Wing Attack gets us the win. Soon after, Linus evolves into Swellow. Can Wally take on the gym challenge? Boop. Guess not. In the Verdant Turf Contest Hall, this woman proclaims her attraction to Pokemon. Oh god, someone call Pokemon Protective Services on her fast. After a bit of grinding, it's time to face Watson. But one problem. What can we possibly do to beat him? While his Voltorb is easy enough, both his Magnemite and Magneton resist normal moves. Now, there are two options, both of which have some serious drawbacks. First, Rock Smash. While everyone but Linus and Peggy Jean can learn it, it's an HM so I can't delete it until I reach Lily Cove. That's not ideal for a 40 base power move. The other is Flamethrower, which Marcy can learn and which I can get from the Game Corner, which, in and of itself, is accessible only by buying a Harbor Mail in Slateport and then giving it to this woman in Mauville for the coin case. Flamethrower then costs 4,000 coins, or about 80,000 Poke. So that takes a lot of time, but it's clearly the better choice to have such a powerful move this early on. Now, for whatever reason, I've always been really bad at the Gen 3 Game Corner games, and I wound up spending an hour here just breaking even. I sold off most of what I thought I could sell to get to 3,500 coins, but I just needed 500 more. I do some exploring and some more painful selling to scrounge up 10k, and finally buy Flamethrower, meaning it's time to fight! Watson's not bad if you plan him out right here. I was using Bulbapedia for this fight, and their servers went down, apparently because of an NFT scam, which, Lamau. So I guessed at what the level cap was, and it wound up being a level too low. That's definitely a problem because Flamethrower won't take out Magnemite on its own. I decide to lead with Sally as a result. She hits Yawn as Magnemite paralyzes. I meant to switch, but clicked Scratch instead without thinking, so we go for that as Magnemite uses Supersonic before falling asleep. Now I pivot into Marcy. Flamethrower actually crits and takes Magnemite out, but I don't think it mattered. Marcy levels up. Voltorb comes in next, and I instantly pivot to Sally for Yawn, as Voltorb goes for self-destruct! Thankfully, Sally tanks it on over half HP as Magneton comes in. Wow. But here, I have to go for a Yawn. Magneton outspeeds and goes for Sonic Boom, but we don't freeze. Now, I'm pretty sure Shockwave will KO, so I switch into Charlie Brown, who gets sent right to half. Oh, that is terrifying. Magneton falls asleep, and I switch back into Marcy. She uses Flamethrower, which crits, taking Magneton out and getting us the win. That absolutely mattered, but while we were lucky, I think we would have been able to do it still. If Magneton had woken up that turn, they probably would have gone for Thunder Wave. But I had a Cherry Berry, and we would have KO'd next turn. But at least we did it, and now I can finally take a breather. Thanks to our heroics, we get a brand new prototype ball that's apparently also all the rage among trainers. Make up your mind, Game Freak. This old woman tries to trap me in her house. I'm pretty sure this is how Rip Van Winkle happened, so I try to get out of there as fast as I can. I run straight onto Route 113, where I can finally catch my next Pokemon, a Spinda named Peppermint Patty, in the most awkward way possible. She's got a neutral hardy nature, and might even put some good work in on the special side, so I'm glad to have her. Okay, so there's this problem I've been thinking about ever since I started planning out this run. On routes 114 and 115, I can catch a Zangoose and a Jigglypuff respectively. Both at least have the potential to be vital team members, and I'm really excited to use them. But there's a problem. On either route, I have a significantly greater chance of encountering a Swablu first. Because Swablu can't evolve in this run, that's basically a wasted encounter who blocks off a much better Pokemon for me. Neither Zangoose nor Jigglypuff appear on any other routes either, so that block is permanent. Swablu also doesn't appear on any other route, so I can't catch one elsewhere to make both of these available. I think this is fascinating to plan around, so I immediately run to Route 114 to see who I get there. I already have Linoone and Vigoroth, who basically do the same thing as Zangoose, so I figured I'd rather risk Swablu there first. But, I actually find a Zangoose, and after a while of him nearly killing Peggy Jean, I catch him and name him Snoopy. Snoopy has a neutral, quirky nature, which is great, and now I'm gonna have to wait to get Surf before seeing who I can get on Route 115. Team Magma tricks the scientist, but they really could have just stolen his meteorite in Fall Arbor Town. I feel like that would have been much easier for everyone involved, right? We discover a professional dogfighting ring atop Mount Chimney. Not the place I'd expect for one, but I'm actually kinda impressed. It's time to fight Maxie for the first time, and I'm curious about how it'll go because he's got some bulk on his team. The answer? Pretty well. I let Sally take the Intimidate from Mightyena as I hit Yawn, and then we trade weak attacks before I switch into Snoopy. Slash doesn't quite KO, but Maxie just Super Potions, so I get another chance, and thanks to a crit, we're on to Golbat! I use Sword Stance here as I take a surprisingly hard wing attack, and then a single slash knocks out Golbat and then his Camerupt. What a beast! Snoopy doesn't even need help setting up against Flannery. Her first Slugma sets up Sunny Day as I go for Sword Stance. I go for a second as she hits Smog, but thanks to immunity, Snoopy can't get poisoned anyways. I'm worried about overheat, so it's time to go. I crush Slugma with one Soft Sand boosted dig, as she actually just went for Smog. Then Slugma 2 goes down to another dig as Sunny Day expires. That's actually perfect. Torkoal's in. Moment of truth. Does dig KO? Is Zangoose a killing machine? Yes! Honestly, that was incredible. I don't think Flannery's ever been so easy for me with a physical Pokemon before. And now we're on to beat up our dad! After an absolutely terrifying near-death for Linus, we make it to Daddy-O. This could actually be scary. His team is fast and hits hard, even with Truant. I think I overthought this and wound up giving Snoopy a Quick Claw instead of Soft Sand. I lead with Sally, who hits a Yawn, and then takes a Facade to literally half HP. Wow. But now I can pivot. I switch to Snoopy as Slacking falls asleep. Now it's time to set up. I go for a Sword Stance, Slacking is asleep. I go for a second, Slacking's still asleep. I take a risk and go for a third. Slacking wakes up and pummels Snoopy with Facade. Imagine how bad that would have been if it crit. But now if we outspeed, we're set. But then Dad sends in his second Slacking! I wasn't expecting this, and don't want my setup to go to waste. So I try to go for Dig, and Slacking attempts to use Focus Punch. Dig only does a little above half, which is actually good. If I kept Soft Sand on, it might have caused him to heal, so my mistake actually paid off as a Slash gets the KO. Vigoroth is last, but I have no idea if I outspeed. But I do, and a final Slash takes him out. Now I've successfully shown I'm the best normal trainer in the Hoenn region, and my dad has to love me. Upon getting Surf, I hightail it back to Route 115 to see who I get. Moment of truth, and it's a Swablu. I name him Pigpen and move on. It's sad because a Wigglytuff would have been incredible as a special attacker here, but I guess Pigpen works well as fodder if I need him. I guess I can evolve Peggy Jean now that I don't have a better use for this Moonstone. Steven jumps me, doesn't even remember my name, and then just leaves? Now I've got to crush him, that was so rude. I zoom up to the Weather Institute, where Sally and Linus work to beat up Courtney. I go through Fortree City to get to Route 120, where Steven gives me a scope. I look into it to see the object of my desires, my next encounter. I catch this Kecleon and name him Spike. Spike has a neutral bashful nature, which is great. I then run back to the Weather Institute and pick up a cast form I name Woodstock. There's something I want to discuss here, and yes, I did derail this encounter just so I could talk about both cast form and Kecleon together. Both Pokemon have abilities that involve changing their types. In a mono-type Nuzlocke, this should come with restrictions, right? The more I thought about this while playing for the run, the more I realized how logically infeasible that was. Theoretically, in another run, if I were doing, say, water types, I could use Cast Form, but only if I switched it in while raining. I'd rather just allow them to use their abilities here and count them as normal types with asterisks than plan out convoluted niche strategies for each run. I don't really get to use either much anyways, so I'd like to game plan using them here. As I get to Winona, I realize I don't have a good way to counter her team at all. That said, I think if I structure my team the right way, I can put in some solid work here. I open up with Sally, who gets outsped and loses a quarter to Aerial Ace before Slash crits and KOs. Awesome! Next I yawn Pelipper as Water Gun takes Sally to just under half. I slack off as Sally gets hit again, and then switch to Peggy Jean, who I taught Thunderbolt from New Mauville for this battle. She uses it, and thankfully we get the KO, a pleasant surprise. I try again on the Skarmory, and it does just over half as she gets hit by Steel Wing. One more does the job though, as she levels up, and now it's just Altaria, the big threat. Dragon Breath takes her under half and paralyzes, so it's time to swap. I go into Snoopy, who loses a third to Dragon Breath, but Crush Claw takes her to half. One more sends Snoopy to a third, so now I go into Woodstock as she uses Earthquake. Thankfully it only does a third. Dragon Breath paralyzes next, so that was a wash. I guess it's back to Sally. Altaria starts using Dragon Dance, and I realize I've got her. She outspeeds now and uses it again, and I hit Encore to trap her in an endless setup. I yawn just in case, and then swap Snoopy back in. After she falls asleep, Crush Claw KOs for the win! 6 badges ours! Yo, why is my reflection just levitating on water? What does this mean? I get over to the Safari Zone, and if you remember how in my last video, I said I needed to figure out what the rules would be for the Safari Zone in a run where there were both old school mechanics and multiple encounters, I didn't realize it would happen so soon. See, I can get 2 different kinds of normal Pokemon here, Doduo and Girafarig. Because of the mechanics of the Safari Zone, there are up to 4 possible areas for encounters. But because of the low catch rate, I've decided to treat each one as a potential encounter space. I've also decided that I can only catch one Pokemon, so I've got to choose between the two. Both are excellent, but given the added typing of Girafarig, I think it'd be preferable. It's in both southern sections, while Doduo is there and also appears alongside Dodrio in the northwest. Well, I start in the southeast. I encounter a Girafarig who lingers for a very long time, but no luck. I guess it's on to the southwest now. My first encounter here is a Girafarig, actually. And after several more rounds of him breaking out of Safari Balls, I finally catch him and name him Schroeder. Schroeder's the final encounter of the run, and while I ordinarily love Girafarig, this one's adamant nature and low special attack stat kinda counteract why I wanted to get him in the first place. Brutal. My final battle with May is upon us. Even though this battle is normally pretty easy, I don't have a big level difference here and that might turn into a problem. This shows up fast as Thunderbolt doesn't take out Swallow, but Swallow just goes for double team, and then Peggy Jean can just use Feint Attack to get the KO. Except Swallow uses Endeavor. I need to switch stat. But next up is Combuskin, so I go into Linus. Combuskin uses Quick Attack, but with a Fly, I take him out too. Next up is Wailmer, for whom a Facade doesn't kill, so she just uses Water Pulse. A Quick Attack gets the KO, and then a final Wing Attack takes care of Shroomish for the win. Goodbye and good riddance, May. She's always been the most disappointing rival for me, especially pre-remake. Disaster strikes, however, when I run into Cool Trainer Clyde. I was trying to get a bit of grinding in, but this Cool Trainer has 5 Pokemon and I'm really not prepared. Sally takes out his Swallow with a single slash, but now Clyde sends out Magneton. I don't have anyone who can take them on easily in my party, and I proceed to make a series of misplays. First, I switch into Woodstock. I do this because I can set up Sunny Day and do a ton of damage, but I should have waited a couple turns because Magneton uses Thunder Wave here, and Woodstock freezes up as he takes a Sonic Boom, and then a Thunderbolt to a third! At least on the bright side, Sunny Day's up now. Sorry, that was awful. I should have hit Magneton with a slash and then Encore Thunder Wave before all this, so Woodstock wouldn't at least take extra damage, but now I'm a bit stuck. I switch into Peggy Jean, who also gets hit to a third with Thunderbolt. This is looking bad. I've got to switch back into Sally, who also gets hit to a third. But I've decided what needs to happen now. I begin spamming Slack Off. I'm basically praying for anything other than Thunderbolt so I can set up a Yawn, but if nothing else, I can stall out most of Thunderbolt's PP. There's only one problem with this strategy though. Thunderbolt is doing a little more damage than I'm recovering, so this is gonna be tight. Skipping a few turns, Sally's down to her last Slack Off PP, and at 11 HP, I've gotta just hope she survives. She uses Slack Off, Magneton uses Thunderbolt, and Sally survives at 2 HP. That was so clutch, but now I need to switch. I decide to go into Schroeder for no good reason, another misplay, but Thunderbolt only does 40%. I decide to hit a Stomp, hoping for a flinch that doesn't come as Magneton paralyzes. Now Thunderbolt sends him to 9 HP, as I decide to go for Stomp again, and I probably should have just gone for Psychic. Okay, I need Patty to work some miracles here. She gets hit under half on the switch-in, but now it's time. I click Hypnosis, and it hits! Magneton's asleep. We have a chance. One that I immediately squander. I hit a Psybeam to take Magneton under half, but then I get so preoccupied with trying to get Confusion, even though Patty's special attack is considerably higher than her attack. For some reason, I think Dizzy Punch will be what does it. We get Magneton into the red. But Clyde Hyper Potions! No! No! Everything's falling apart. I keep trying my Dizzy Punch strategy, just praying for Confusion that never comes. I get Magneton back under half before they wake up and hit Thunder Wave. Just perfect. Magneton hits Sonic Boom next, but I need this Hypnosis to land. And somehow it does again! I try one more time for Dizzy Punch before giving up. I need a Pokemon who isn't paralyzed, and unfortunately my best option is Sally. With one slash, she slays Magneton. I'm rejoicing before realizing that Clyde has 3 more Pokemon, and none of my team members can take a hit anymore. My switch to Sally may have just turned this into her last fight. I click Slash on Trapinch, who falls, but that makes perfect sense. It's not a bulky Pokemon. But I'm almost certainly falling to Wailmer. Except Slash KO's here too. Maybe we can make it out okay. We outspeed Shiftry, which is great, and then Slash gets us the... No! With one appropriately named Feint Attack, our poor little Sally becomes the first casualty of this attempt. I sent Peggy Jean out to clean up with Covet, but this loss is devastating. Sally was a heavy hitter. Her use of Encore and recovery options made her a phenomenal Pokemon for pivoting, and she was easily my most reliable sleeper. She'll be missed for sure, but we've got to carry on. Team Magma steals an orb, desecrates a cemetery, and then we're just given one for free. Guess a random kid's probably the best person to trust. Makes perfect sense. Far better than the people who are actually guarding it. You gotta love a land-based team doing all this work just to steal a sub. I'm really glad that this changed in Emerald, but it's so silly here. I wonder if it affects local trade at all, just having a terrorist group's Whalmer blockade here. I get to Steven's place and, you live like this? There's not even a bed! While training up for the Moss Deep gym, Marcy evolves into an Exploud, making my whole team fully evolved. Tate and Liza aren't bad with the right amount of planning. I send out Peppermint Patty and Woodstock. Woodstock goes first, surprisingly, and sets up Rain Dance, but I don't get punished for this, as Sorok just goes for Psychic on Patty, not doing too much damage. Lunatone sets up Calm Mind, which is scary, but Hypnosis connects, allowing me not to worry too much about her. Next, a Weather Ball melts Sorok to make it a 2-on-1. Feint Attack does pretty mad damage post Calm Mind, but now next turn we might be able to take Lunatone out. And Weather Ball crits, so I guess I'll never know if I was otherwise able to. A little anticlimactic, but I can't complain with 7 badges. The difference in cap between Tate and Liza and Wallace is only a level, so I've got to manage experience way better than I did. And this really shows up when I take on Maxie. This fight's pretty tough at this level because Mighty Ina can mess up your stats, then Crobat can do some pretty big chip damage. By the time you make it to camera up, he can just rip through you. I get pretty lucky here because I sent in Snoopy with the Prism Berry. And while he gets hit with a Scary Face, he gets hit by Swagger right after, and with a Swords Dance, he has +3 attack. He takes Mighty Ina out with Slash, and then Crobat hits a moderately hard wing attack before going down too. It's just camera up now, and I stay in and go for Slash, which KOs! But now Snoopy is over the cap, so I won't be able to use him until after Wallace. That's rough, but I didn't really see a lot of ways around it. Maxie uses the wrong orb, and thanks to his error, now Groudon just wants to brood in their room. I've gotta talk them out, I guess. Really feels like Steven could be doing more of the work here, considering he's champion. Hey, knock it off. And with the main story resolved, it's now time for Wallace. I don't think my team matches up great against his, but there isn't much I can do. I lead with Peggy Jean, who uses Thunderbolt against his Love Disc, who survives! God, Delcatty is terrible. Love Disc hits with Sweet Kiss. I made the bad decision to give Peggy Jean a Citrus Berry, so I'm stuck with Confusion now. Wallace heals and I land the next Thunderbolt, but after that, Peggy hurts herself in Confusion and Love Disc hits a Water Pulse. This is so annoying, but thankfully we break out of Confusion next turn and a final Thunderbolt takes her away. Wallace decides to send out Whiscash next, who admittedly was one of the harder Pokemon to plan for. I decide to pivot to Marcy, but in order to do that, I need Peggy Jean to hit Sing. This, does not happen for 2 turns in a row. Sing's accuracy is killing me here. Thankfully, I don't really go punished for it, as Whiscash just sets up Amnesia twice. Finally, on the 3rd turn, I click Sing and it hits! Okay, I finally switch to Marcy. I use a Howl, and then Whiscash wakes up and uses Rain Dance. Just perfect. Secret Power doesn't KO, but it does paralyze, causing Whiscash to freeze. One more takes him out. Next up is Celio, and here I use a 3rd Howl to try and boost my attack and stall the rain, but get hit with Water Pulse. No confusion though, thankfully, and Secret Power KOs! Seeking comes out just as the rain stops, which is amazing. One Secret Power gets rid of him too. Now it's just Milotic, who's always scary. Secret Power doesn't quite KO, and Milotic responds with a hard Water Pulse to get Marcy to a 3rd. Wallace heals, and then Secret Power brings Milotic right back to the red, after which we win. What a joke of a champion. Should have just stayed in your gym in Emerald. I do some minor hopping around before Victory Road, mostly just picking up a second return TM and Pacific Log. Now, I'd remembered the Wally battle location in Emerald, which is at the start of Victory Road, so I'd planned for that. But it actually turns out he's all the way at the end of Victory Road in Ruby. I need 2 HM Pokemon here, so I only have 4 team members I bring with me. I also realized that I'd sold all my escape ropes for inventory management earlier like an absolute genius and didn't have a way to leave. So I just decided screw it, I'll face Wally with these guys. After exhausting my remaining super potions and a couple Lepa berries, I'm good enough to go. I lead with Woodstock, who sets up Hail as Altaria uses Dragon Dance. He outspeeds now and goes for Aerial Ace, which does way less than I worried it would, and then Weather Ball takes him out. I assumed Wally would hunt for the type advantage instead and send out Magneton next, but he goes for Delcatty. Maybe Castform still reads as normal to the AI? I wasn't expecting it regardless. I hit Weather Ball and then Delcatty hits Sing? With the roughly 30% hit rate I've had on it, I am just offended. Wally heals, and then Delcatty uses Assist to hit Psychic for some pretty unimpressive damage. That's a relief, actually. She's just so bad. Hail expires by the time I wake up, but I just use a couple normal Weather Balls to ultimately KO, even after she set up Dragon Dance. She misses Sing on her final turn, which is about right. Now Magneton finally shows up, and I don't really want to take them on with Woodstock anymore, so I just switch to Marcy. Marcy takes a Thunderbolt all the way to half. Yikes! Fortunately, she's basically fine, and I outspeed next turn to hit a Soft Sand boosted Earthquake for the KO. Roselia is next, and Flamethrower doesn't quite KO, and he sets up Toxic. Wally heals, but it's just a super potion, so the next Flamethrower takes Roselia out. Last is Gardevoir, and I make the wrong play here. I was worried he was going to set up with Calm Mind, so I didn't want to bring Patty in and brought Charlie Brown instead. But he sets up Double Team. We wind up KOing on our second return, but that could have gotten really dicey. Wally just stays there. Oh, okay, that's cool. Not creepy at all. After some training, I'm ready for the league. Here's my team. Even though Swellow's great, I'm not taking Linus with me. I just don't think he can give me anything special here, so I'm going with these guys. First up, it's Sydney. Now, Linoon is a secretly phenomenal sweeper for the league, and if you want to know more about why, Flygon HG has a great video on it from a while back. Now, his was for Emerald, and it doesn't work quite as well here, but Linoon is still a beast. Now, why is this? Linoon learns both Rest and Belly Drum through Level Up, and combined with Return, you can just quickly max out Linoon's attack, recover, and then do heavy damage. I decided it's worth it to do a little more setup here though, so I send in Peppermint Patty against Sydney's Mightyena to take the Intimidate. Hypnosis connects, and then I switch to Charlie Brown. As Mightyena wakes up, I guess we're doing that again. I switch back to Patty as Mightyena uses Sand Attack, which could either be good or bad here. But thankfully, Hypnosis connects. I switch back to Charlie Brown, use Belly Drum, and don't even bother resting before using Return to take out Mightyena, Cacturn, Sharpedo who hurts with Rough Skin, Absol, and Shiftry who uses Fake Out in the process. And that gets me my first win! Phoebe is next. This battle is pretty much exactly the same as the Battle of Sydney, except for one thing. I lead with Patty and land Hypnosis to put Dusclops to sleep. Then I switch to Charlie Brown and use Belly Drum. Now we're ready to go, and thanks to Shadow Ball, which is a physical move here still, I tear through Phoebe's entire team, leveling up Charlie Brown in the process. He's seriously incredible, I'm so proud. For Glacia, I decide to switch it up a little bit. Not at the start. Peppermint Patty still uses Hypnosis on Glalie after she set up Hail, but then I switch to Snoopy. Here I set up 2 Swords Dances without Glalie waking up. Then I decide to just go for it. Brick Break takes out Glalie 1, her first Celio, her second Celio, Glalie 2, and Walrein in one hit each. Just one Elite Four member left. Drake is where everything kind of falls apart. I could have almost certainly prepared better for this fight, but I basically had everything ready and didn't want to do the Shoal Cave stuff or wait for berries to grow, so I definitely came under-equipped. I used my usual strategy of using Hypnosis and putting Shelgon to sleep. I switched in Woodstock next and set up Hail. Weather Ball gets rid of Shelgon. Next up is Flygon 1, who outspeeds and takes Woodstock to half with Flamethrower. That's terrifying. Weather Ball KOs, but now I have to be far more attentive to Woodstock's speed. Salamence is out next, and if Flygon could do all that, I'm not sitting around to figure out what Salamence could do. I switch to Marcy, who gets hit hard with the Flamethrower. Next turn, Salamence outspeeds and hits Dragon Claw. Please don't KO, but she survives! And KOs Salamence with Ice Beam! But now I can't keep Marcy in anymore. I switch back to Patty, who hits Hypnosis after Dragon Breath brings Altaria to half. I switch back to Woodstock as Drake switches to Flygon 2. After Woodstock had brought the Hail back again, Flygon hits Sandstorm. There's not much I can do here, so I decide I've got to switch and abandon my strategy. Woodstock just won't be able to do much here. So now it's Snoopy's time to shine. As I send him out, Flygon uses Dig. Perfect. I set up a Swords Dance. And now it's go time. I hit Return, taking Flygon out. Then I do the same with Altaria for the win! This fight really wasn't optimized though, and that makes me worried for the champion. I use my remaining rare candies, which thanks to pickup was 12. I then teach Schroeder Calm Mind and change some items around. And with that, we're all set. Steven's talking in these really weird life or death passion terms to a random kid trying to dogfight him. Okay, I guess. Like with every other league battle so far, I start with Peppermint Patty, who after getting outsped and hit with Toxic lands Hypnosis. Now I switch to Schroeder. Here, I use an Agility. I use Calm Mind next, after which Skarmory wakes up and uses Spikes. I go for a second, and Skarmory uses Steel Wing and gets the boost. I decide to use a third, and this time Skarmory uses Toxic, activating Schroeder's Pecha Berry. Now that I don't have any other buffers, let's go. Thunderbolt gets rid of Skarmory, and then Steven sends in Armaldo, who I really wasn't expecting. I decide to just attack, use Thunderbolt, and it paralyzes! And then Armaldo freezes! That was definitely a risky play, but I wasn't punished somehow, and one more Thunderbolt gets the KO. But now, Steven wises up to the fact that I'm just going for Thunderbolt, and sends out Claydol. So here's where the next part of my strategy comes in. I baton pass into Marcy, carrying all of my buffs as Claydol sets up Reflect. That's gonna be really frustrating, but right now, I can hit Ice Beam and blow Claydol away for good. Aggron is next, and here a Soft Sand boosted Earthquake doesn't even do half! That's bad. Aggron uses Earthquake in response, and wow, that did a lot. I don't really have much choice though, I need to go for Howl. Aggron hits Earthquake again to send Marcy to a quarter. But now, does Earthquake KO? It does, and we're on to Cradily as Reflect expires! Here, Ice Beam gets the kill, and now it's just Metagross. I need Earthquake to KO here, or else we could be in a bit of a predicament. I click it, and Metagross survives on a sliver! Guess Marcy's gonna be sacked. But Metagross misses Meteor Mash? So we get another turn to try. Steven doesn't even heal because Metagross' Citrus Berry activates and takes them out of healing range. One last Earthquake gets us the win. That was incredible. I can't believe we beat the League Deathless. How'd May get in here? I feel like usually you need to be a public figure to beat the rest of the league, but no way May did that. She just sort of strolls in. Steven shows me mercy and takes me away from her. And that's game. I just beat a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokémon Ruby with only normal types. Looking at my team here, I can confidently say that this was one of the weirdest teams I've ever used in a Nuzlocke. I don't think Linoone or Zangoose are that unconventional, but that's more or less where it ended for me. My team was all over the place in terms of their coverage and strengths. For the resources I had, I think I played relatively cautiously. But I definitely got the raw end of pretty much any special attacker I got outside of Peppermint Patty as far as natures go. One thing I noticed early on was that a lot of the available normal types were the same kind of Pokemon. Fast with high attack stats and relative frailty elsewhere. It definitely made the pre-physical special split good because it allowed Charlie Brown, for example, to learn Shadow Ball, but it also made it harder for special attackers to really shine. What was fun about this run, though, is how much move diversity normal types can have. I always felt like I had a lot of options for how to plan my battles, and that made it really exciting. It made planning for the league especially fun. It was also really cool for me to get to use a bunch of Pokemon I never really get to use. I've almost never used Zangoose in a game before. Definitely same with Castform and Kecleon. Zangoose immediately clicked and was for sure my MVP of the run, but the other two really disappointed. With Kecleon, to be fair, I didn't put in a ton of effort training him and he could have been really good, but I got a terrible Castform with bad special attack and then terrible IVs for everything except his defenses. As a result, a lot of the fun strategies I wanted to try with him didn't really pan out, and I found myself generally underwhelmed, especially after Drake. I want to quickly do a couple plugs here. I love Spinda. She can be used in a bunch of different ways, and in a run where special attackers aren't common, she can be incredible as either a special or mixed attacker. She's probably my second best Pokemon of the run. Finally, I alluded to this throughout, but if you can avoid it, the Skitty line is just awful. Don't use them. While they can learn a lot of different moves, their stats are horrible, and their statuses are bad too. Being dependent on a 55% accurate move for sleep was excruciating for most of the run. Hypnosis is at least 60%, and that made so much of a difference. I guess that's kind of an anti-plug, but still. I think with all that said, to discuss the run, the first bit was comically difficult, and Skitty was essential there. Watson could also be a little tricky, but overall it got a lot easier and more straightforward past that point. One really nice thing is that you get a bunch of your encounters up front, allowing for way more planning than you might get otherwise. Other than my first ever hardcore Nuzlocke video in Sun, I don't think I've ever gotten more than 2 Pokemon before the first real challenge of a run, and there everything was really difficult. Here there were some growing pains, but it allowed for a lot of good opportunities to bulk up my team a bit. This meant that by the time we got to Flannery, everyone on my team was something of a powerhouse. And that's a wrap. If you liked this video, please feel free to give a like or subscribe to my channel. If you have any suggestions or things you'd like to see me do, please feel free to leave a comment, at me on Twitter, or email me with your suggestion at ed40plays@gmail.com. Catch you all next time.